Hi, my name is Moonhun Park, and in this presentation, I'd like to talk about how acoustics could influence the singer's performance as they were singing in 3 virtual venues. Imagine a group of musicians on a world tour, performing in various concert halls, each with different sizes and acoustic properties. If they are professional enough, they will probably adjust their performance based on the acoustics of the hall or stage acoustics. To really see how stage acoustics influence musical performance, many research groups did experiments and made observations of real concerts where they collected and compared the data of musicians' perceptions of the room and also their performance, and features from audio recordings and room acoustic parameters. One way to study the interaction between stage acoustics and musical performance is by following musicians performing the same program at different venues. Or we can invite musicians to perform in different rooms or in the same room while manipulating the acoustic properties. And for more controlled experiments, musicians can perform in a very dry room, like anechoic room, with virtual acoustics implemented over loudspeakers or headphones. And each method has pros and cons, but as far as I could read from the literature, study results have not been very consistent, and probably due to small sample sizes or suboptimal experimental design. In fact, there was no study where the visual information was also provided to the musicians. So we decided to run our own study with 16 soprano singers, making sure a very rigorous protocol, almost like psychophysical experiments. And we selected 3 venues in Bangkok, Thailand, a small recording room with very short reverberation time, and a purpose-built concert hall, and a large cathedral with long reverberation time. And using head-mounted displays and high-quality headphones, we provided audio and video images of these venues. For the auralization of the rooms, we captured the singer's voice very close to their lips, and the signal was split in 2 with some relative gains. And the first was meant to be the direct sound, which was passed through, and the second was converged with one of the room impulse responses measured in the 3 venues, with the direct sound removed. Then the 2 signals were combined together and played back over headphones. I must say we had to deal with many issues and problems to implement this auralization system, but I don't think I have enough time to talk about them now. For the video, we capture the 360-degree images of the 3 venues, and we use them as the background in the program we created on Unity for this experiment. So here is a video clip showing the experiment we did. You can see a singer singing in the recording room, and what she sees on the head-mounted display is also shown on the monitor. And once she finished, she could bring up the questionnaire, and we took a note of her answers manually. And once one room is finished, then she could press another button to teleport herself to the next room. So we invited and paid for 16 soprano singers. 12 of them were professional, and the other 4 were student singers. And we asked them to rehearse and sing 2 songs. One is supposed to be a slower, and the other to be a faster song. And singers sang at the original keys as in the music, but they could choose their own tempos for each song but they had to keep it throughout the experiment. After a short introduction, the singers perform the slow song 3 times, followed by a survey. They repeated this with the fast song and then completed a per condition survey. And this was the end of recording session number 1. And this kind of session was repeated for 3 times for 3 different venues. And finally, they completed a survey about the entire experiment. I must say that singers were given the pitch and tempo only at the start of each song. And because we assumed that performance adaptations to the room acoustics would become more evident in later trials, we analyzed the audio data only from the last trial of each song. Because we had 3 different rooms, we used 3x3 Latin square design, and only 15 out of 16 participants were randomly assigned to one of the 3 orders. Once we have the audio data, we segmented it into syllables and estimated parameters indicating the timing, pitch, the use of higher harmonics, sound level, and expressiveness. I'm not going to go into any details of these parameters now, but we'll explain them when we discuss the results later. But here I just wanted to show that we had song level features and also note level features. And the note level features were estimated only for the 3 long notes in each song. Together with audio features, survey topics are also shown aligned in the table. And on this data, we did a statistical testing to determine the effect of venue. Before I share the results with you, I must say that I had to select only the most interesting findings from the entire data set, given the limited time of the presentation. First, the effect of venue on the tempo. We found nothing significant either in the survey or in the audio features. But we could see some interesting trends that the rest time increases slightly as the singer sang in a larger room. So the rest time indicates the sum of the short pauses between actual singing or sounding periods, and here it is shown for each venue from the smallest to the largest. When it comes to pitch or so-called intonation, which is the terminology used by vocalists, singers perceived no difference across rooms, but we found that absolute pitch error was greater in larger, more reverberant spaces. And also singers were singing at a lower pitch in these larger rooms. And we think that the acoustic feedback in larger rooms must be stronger, and it might have made the singers less sensitive to the pitch accuracy. For the use of harmonics or the resonance in the singer's own terminology, the survey results again did not show any significant effect of the venue. But when we looked at the spectral centroid, we could see some significant difference. And it looks like singers were singing brighter in the concert hall with a higher spectral centroid compared to the recording studio and perhaps also compared to the cathedral. We could find some similar trends for the sound pressure level. The singers were singing loudest in the concert hall compared to the other 2 smaller or larger venues, which is indicated by the LAEQ of the song and the maximum sound level for the 3 representative notes. And more interesting is that the singers didn't notice that they were singing loudest in the concert hall, but actually they thought they were putting most efforts in the dry recording room. So again, the audio data and the survey results were different from each other. We'd like to carefully interpret this result, saying that in the small recording studio, singers didn't have to sing loud, perhaps because they saw and knew the room was small with audience very close to them. In the cathedral, on the other hand, the singers might not have felt necessary to sing louder because they could hear their voice already amplified thanks to the long reverberation time. Vibrato frequency and its extent and the tremolo frequency, they were all going down as the singers moved to the larger and more reverberant room. It is perhaps easy to understand this trend as the singers must have slowed down and reduced the frequency and amplitude modulation in larger rooms. But the tremolo extent showed somewhat different trend, which is actually more like the trend of the average or maximum sound level, as we saw on the previous slide. So to me, it makes perfect sense because when the sound pressure level increases, the dynamic range of the tremolo must also increase in proportion. So here is a summary so far. First, we could find some effects of the venue on the singer's performance, but it was very subtle. And these subtle effects we can summarize like this. First, in a more reverberant room, singers rested more between notes, and pitch became lower and less accurate, and the vibrato and tremolo became slower. In the concert hall, with the right level of reverberation as compared to the other two venues, the singers sang louder and brighter with slightly more intensive tremolo. Interestingly, most of these findings were different from the singer's own perception. So this is supposed to be the end of my presentation as far as my paper goes, but I also wanted to share a few more slides showing you the results of the second phase of the study. In the first phase that I just talked about, the video and audio corresponded to the same values. But we thought, what if the video and audio do not match with each other? So we ran the same experiment where we presented the audio of the concert hall at all times, but the 360 image was either the small recording room or the cathedral. So here are the results. From the survey, singers didn't seem to have felt any difference in the tempo of their singing, but it looks like the total sounding time was longer when they were seeing the image of a larger venue, which was found significant only for the fast song. And we think that although what they heard over the headphones was exactly the same, that of the concert hall, the singers, without themselves knowing it, they were trying to make their singing voice sound more reverberant in a larger venue. We could find a similar trend with the use of harmonics or the resonance, where it appears that the singers sang brighter when they were visually in a larger room. Again, this was found significant only for the fast song. And in fact, the singers seem to have noticed it as shown in this survey results, although the difference was not significant. The effect of the visual information could also be seen at least at the note level for the singing effort or the sound pressure level. And here you can see that singers must have tried to sing the fast song louder when a larger space was shown on the display, which they knew it should normally sound louder. And this difference was not shown in the survey results. So I'd like to make more general conclusions here. First, the room, both audio and video, may influence singers' performance in many ways. But the visual information on its own, we found it can also influence the singer's performance, as we have seen in the sounding time, harmonics, and the sound pressure level. Lastly, it looks like the effects of venue may depend on the type of song, like slow versus fast songs. And this dependence was also reported in some previous studies. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.